G'day and welcome to Cuba to Rio, episode 3. So we are a week into the trip, and so far I've visited Havana, Cuba's capital, in the north there, and I have just spent 3 days and a bit in Trinidad and its surrounding areas. That was the sound of a panadero, a bloke selling bread in Havana. And yeah, I think between that and what's coming up, you'll get a pretty good idea of Havana. I'll be back there later on, so if I've missed anything, I'll definitely get it then. But yeah, enjoy this one. Coming up is a little reflection on my first week that I took down in Bocas, which is 4 k's from where I am now. So yeah, enjoy. We're no longer in Havana. We're in fact on the Caribbean coast of Cuba, on the southern coast, near to a main town called Trinidad. However, I'm not staying in the town. I'm staying 4 k's out of it at a place called Bocas, which is close to the mouth of a river. And yeah, it's dawn. And so I love traveling by myself because it means I can do this sort of stuff. Get up at dawn and go for an early morning swim in the Caribbean. It's pretty brisk outside, really. The water's warm, except the top layer of the water's cooler because the air at the moment is just quite nippy, and that's coming from me. But just gonna do a brief review of the week that's been while I've got you here. Oh, no, fish just jumped out of the water. There are a few. I am sitting on a coral atoll off the coast of this small town called Bocas, because I think this will be the safest place to leave my bag while I go for a swim. Not to say that Cuba isn't safe. Well, let's start there then, because I just spent 3 days of the last week in Havana, and I've walked around by myself at pretty much every hour of the day so far, and including 1 a.m. we were coming back from a club one night, and you feel completely safe the entire time, and it's just, I don't know what it is, but the dilapidated buildings may put you at ease or something like that. But yeah, so Havana was just an amazing and lively city. The Cubans there really They were keen for a chat. They were keen to have you around them, and they're keen to learn about where you were from and what you were doing in Cuba and what your motivations for being around were. It was just fantastic. So I've really thoroughly enjoyed Havana. I'll do a little correction while I've got you as well, because last time in that little 4-minute podcast I said there's 3 parts to Cuba. There's actually 3 parts to Havana. And I was living in central Havana, not central Cuba. And that was just fantastic because it meant that I could walk around. I've never done so much walking in a city. Usually there's a bus or something, but bloody Havana, there is buses, but there's no point taking them. So you would do huge sort of 10, 8-kilometer walks every day to all the different sites and monuments around the place. And that was fine. You got to know people. So the first day I was there, I walked around the old part of Havana in the rain. Wasn't too great, but Havana did its best to please us. It was me and an Italian bloke called Stefan. And yeah, we saw the whole place, just wandered around old Havana there. Saw a couple of plazas in the rain. Saw the Museum of the Revolution in the rain, with every other tourist that was in Havana. And it was good. And the next day got to know some Argentinians, and we didn't quite have the same pace as Stefan and I. They were a little slower. They were at the end of their trip. They weren't too keen on doing walking, and so we eventually made it to the Plaza of the Revolution, which is Cuba's, Havana's sort of main focal point for traffic and its population and everything. And you'd think it'd be some Tiananmen Square-esque sort of get up, but it's not so much. It's a rather large, inclined sort of car park, all asphalt, sort of sloping away from this gigantic Soviet-style monument that's there. This is, of course, where those fantastic faces of Che Guevara and Cecil Cienfuegos. I'm not sure if that's his name. Cecil Cienfuegos sounds okay though. There's these giant red portraits of them on the side of a building. And yeah, I just chilled with these Argentinians there, and we had smoked Cuban cigars and drank mate, a kind of Argentinian tea, on the Plaza of the Revolution as the sun went down, waiting for these faces to illuminate. And it was just excellent. And in classic Cuban style, only part of Che illuminated, because the rest of the globes were blown out. So we have a bit more of a conversation about that sort of thing later on, like its development in the later on in the show. But I've just been struck by it's such a nostalgic place. I mean, no wonder all these old tourists are here by the busload. There's old tourists everywhere, but it is like the 50s. And the internet is, slightly miss the internet, but it's just amazing. As the cars, the sense of community here is like what every Western country remembers itself being in the past, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Anyway, I'll leave you now with a couple of grabs of the sounds of Havana. Maybe I might litter them throughout this. That's a better idea, because this hasn't got too much content to it, does it? Alright, so behind me there, I don't know, I just wandered around. There's heaps of street music in Havana, so I'm sure that's been playing for the entire time that I've been saying these words. And the last thing that I'll leave you with, because this one's a little quieter, there's a guy selling bread in the distance, if you can hear that. I've got a bread seller. I've got one of him from Havana. I'll play you that as well, just to compare the two. But the last bit I'll leave you with is this fabulous restaurant, which was owned by the father of the hostel that I was in. I can see a giant parrotfish just chilling on the coral down by me. That is... There's a lot of life here, both human and natural. I'm definitely going for a swim. Anyway, okay, I'll leave you with this then. So it was this restaurant that I ate in every day of my trip in Havana there, and it only cost me like 1 peso convertible. And there's, I better explain that then. Cuba's got 2 currencies, one for its local population, one for tourists, and this of course leaves itself wide open to scams, because they can give you the change in the cheaper currency rather than the more expensive one, which is tied to the US dollar, which is really kicking me in the balls right now. But yeah, so you could eat at this restaurant for just 1 Cuban peso, peso convertible, which is fantastic, $1. And some massive meal, and I have yet to find similar value in other places. I'll do a little recap of Trinidad at another time when I've got another soundscape beside me. So anyway, enjoy this little glimpse into my restaurant eating life, and we'll be back with some other stuff. See ya.
Papi, el refresco ese se me acabó. Voy para allá.
That's just a sample of the 5-hour-long conversation I had with Ramon, our taxi driver, and Miklos. Coming up, you'll hear like a little chat between Miklos and I over dinner about our reflections on that chat. It was just fantastic and open, and it took place in a pretty special car as well. It was a 1948 Chevy Fleetmaster that weighed 3 tons. Was part of a classic car club in Havana, which is quite exclusive, I'm told. And despite having its original engine stripped out and replaced with a Nissan, was in such good condition, white on the outside, red interior. So, yeah, had a fantastic ride. And this is Miklos and I in an Italian restaurant.
My name's Miklos. I'm Hungarian, but I live in Switzerland. And I have the honor to meet Mats and join an interesting taxi drive, like 5 hours almost. From Havana to Trinidad.
We were very lucky in that we had a super open driver, and we pretty much quizzed him the whole time on all sorts of things. I don't know what. Firstly, what are your impressions of Cuba been?
Cuba for me is actually one of the poorest countries I've ever been to. If you see the streets, the condition of the buildings they're in, and the things you can buy in the stores, there's so much need. It's really impressive. And I'm also impressed by the people. Nevertheless, they still have this drive to survive, and I think what maybe it's because of all this need that people work together. They search. They're looking for the contact.
Yeah, there's such an amazing sense of community across the country that I've noticed so far. So do you reckon, because we were talking in the taxi earlier about how there's sort of like 2 sort of gears of development, and there was one for the material things in Cuba. The roads, the cars, the buildings, they're falling apart. But then the people are so very well developed in their own way. There's great health and education here in Cuba. And did you think that resonates with how Cuba works?
I would agree, yes. Cubans are very interesting people. They have their own ways to survive. They often have to be able to do all kinds of things on their own. Just simple things to repair a machine that's not working.
Yeah.
And so they help each other out. They have a large social network. They know everybody in the neighborhood. They always know which person to ask if they need someone. That's totally different. I mean, if you go into a Western country like Europe or the US, if you go to one place, you take your phone or your tablet and just Google it, and you see everybody walking with their tablets and smartphones on the street.
Yeah.
Instead of asking somebody. In Cuba, you still have to ask people, when does the bus leave?
Connection. Yeah. No, we were trying so hard in this taxi, the 2 of us, to convince this driver that all changes that will come to Cuba aren't for the best. But he was, I don't know, what did you think about his position that Cuba definitely needs some development, but we were very much cautious about what kind of development it needs.
Okay, this taxi driver told us that he was in Spain, but he even told us that I think he had to work 3 weeks without stop.
Yeah.
And I was telling him that's exactly what could happen to Cuba if the conditions change, and it's now most people don't have much, but everybody has the minimum to survive.
Yeah.
And if that changes, I think that could be, for some of the Cubans, could be difficult.
Yeah, definitely. And so, how come you came to Cuba?
Why I came to Cuba? I love Latin music. I love salsa. I know Cuban people, and yeah, that's why I came.
And has it been like easy for you to get involved with all these things that you love? Like you said, you've seen which artist had you seen?
This time I came from Chile, and the first day it was a little bit of a shock because Chile is one of the developed countries in Latin America.
Yeah.
So when you get to the streets and it's like bad asphalt, the pavement's not good, the buildings falling apart. But I love this place because
the people are so warm. And I think the other thing that we were like, we were touching on that they might lose is that the fact that there's no other country like this that have a relationship between tourists and the local population like Cuba. Like you can talk to them about anything. They come up to you and have a chat about something that isn't like selling you something. It's just been so good.
Well, we haven't talked about this, but I don't agree about that.
Okay.
For me, most Cubans I've talked to on the street or like in shops, I always had the impression that they talk to you, even though they're kind, because in the end they know that you have money and you have a passport.
Yeah.
So if a girl talks to you, you know, or my first idea is she talks to me because I have a passport, I can leave the country, and I have money.
Yeah.
And I think it is quite often the case. I've been here 5 years ago, and then at that time it was even more marked.
Yeah, they marked the difference. Yeah.
The difference I felt it was much stronger. Now it's a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I still have the impression that as a foreigner in Cuba, you are quite a person that is treated differently. It's difficult to talk about personal things. They are open.
Yeah.
We were lucky with this taxi driver, I have to say that, because they don't often talk.
That's it. I have only been here like 4 days at this rate, and I've had a very open cook that I spoke to heaps. I've also had the taxi driver that we had today. But yeah, all right. Well, let's finish on what do you do at home in Switzerland?
I work as a radiologist.
Yeah.
I live alone at the moment in Zurich, which is really different from Cuba, from the style people live, people walk on the streets. There's much less direct communication with them.
Yeah. Oh, well. And where's your next trip going to be?
I like Brazil. Rio de Janeiro, and
yeah, we've had a huge chat about Rio de Janeiro, and I'm keen to get down there. Anyway, food has arrived. Despite the music, we are in an Italian restaurant, so we'll leave you there. Yeah, so that's our first guest on the show. How good's that? Thanks to Miklos for joining me. That was a good chat, and we stayed together for the next 24 hours, and in the same place, had breakfast, lunch, and dinner together. It was fantastic. So what's next? I was walking up a hill here in Trinidad towards a antenna, and I came across a lot more than I expected. So I'll let you listen to that, and then I'll see you at the end. So, the reason you might not be able to hear any background noise is because I was walking up a hill to get to an antenna that I spotted from the beach, and I just found this military base just on the side of the hill. Like, the hill's been burnt out, and there's all these lookout posts and gun emplacements, and the gate was open, so I came inside. I'm not sure I'm supposed to be here, so I'll go up on top of one of the gun emplacements, and there's a ladder behind me that goes up to one of the lookouts, but it was far too flimsy to attempt. This is the most exciting thing I've done in Cuba so far. Oh, it's great. All right, see you upstairs.
Alright, so we're back outside. Rightio. Well, here's my speculation on why there would be a Cuban military gun emplacement facing the Caribbean Sea. Right now, I'm above Trinidad, this fantastic colonial town with terracotta roofs, and I can see right to the beach I was at, Avacon, this morning. And the reason why I reckon there's gun emplacements here and lookouts and what appears to be the ruins of a base up there, I'll have to check that out later, is because the entire coast of Cuba is basically this sharp rock, and there's only a few beaches like the one I was at this morning that really could be used for an invasion, like the US tries to stage in the Bay of Pigs, which is a little to the north of here, I believe. But yeah, so how exciting is that? This place is dripping with freaking history. I've got colonial, town in front of me, and then 1950s gun emplacements and bomb shelters underneath me and around me. This is, so worth coming up this hill. Alrighty, okay, I'll see you at the top. Alright, we are at the top. And I failed to mention in that last bit there that the reason why they have south-facing bases here in Cuba is that the US controlled the Panama Canal until around 1972. Fact-check that, please. And so that's why they are so concerned about their southern coast and these few entrance points. But I'm at the top now. You can probably hear the hum of a capacitor in the background there. Maybe. But yeah, we're here. This is the end of the first week, and it's been amazing. I've had such a great time so far, and it's been just so easy meeting people. Just tonight, I'm going to have a meet up with some French people at 5, and then we're meeting up with some Norwegians at 8, and we're all going to a club in a cave here in Trinidad. I wish I knew more about the history of Trinidad so I could read it out to you, but not the case, I'm afraid. But yeah, so this will be the first episode, probably uploaded from Cancun in Mexico, unless I find some amazing internet somewhere here in Cuba, but that is unlikely. Alright, have a good one, and I'll leave you here with the sounds of the club I was at last night, which was called La Casa de Musica, where there was a live band. Their audio wasn't great, mine is fine. And yeah, and have a fantastic one. Enjoy. Also, I passed a school today and made the creepiest recording I've ever made, but they were just so happy, and they all had drums, so it sounded amazing. So have a listen, enjoy the music, enjoy the kids, and not in that way though. And yeah, have a good one. Bye. Okay, well, that's it. Yeah, that's episode 1, made and edited overseas. So, yeah, hopefully that was okay. I do spot the irony in bagging out the Casa de Musica's audio while recording the worst sounding monologue of the entire piece. But I'm new to this. It's hard. I couldn't be bothered to get my sock out of the bag. Right now it's Australia Day, so I've got the bunting out in this lovely hostel that I found with 2 French blokes, and it's likely that I'll be with them for the next week, so we might hear from them at some point as well. But yeah, remember that you can find Cuba to Rio at Facebook and on Twitter, and email me with any suggestions of places to go or things to do at cubatorio@gmail.com. And yeah, we'll see. I don't know where I'm going next, but you can be certain that whatever it is, it will be recorded and in the next episode. So thanks for listening.